Grayskull.
Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today it's the Man Child. Okay, so today for review, we're going to get a chance to look at the new Masters Universe Origins Cartoon Collection Hordak figure. Look at that. We get Hordak finally added to the cartoon collection. I was waiting for him for a while. He was announced like over the summer. And here he is. He's coming around certain stores early, and he really wasn't announced till spring of next year, like a lot of figures from the cartoon collection of regular Origins. But yeah, they're being pumped out early. I guess, getting closer to holidays, depending on the store and the stock. Anyway, I got one in hand, and I got to say, he looks awesome. Has a typical cartoon aesthetics as far as the arm, the arms, legs, and torso. I'm assuming underneath the armor. I bring it up because a lot of people really mix with the aesthetics on a lot of these cartoon figures over the regular Origins. I like them. I think it's something different. And yeah, so he has a new armor piece, it looks like. And yeah, a whole new head. That's pretty cool. Because I thought maybe they were going to reuse the Turtles of Grayskull cartoon head or something similar to it. And it's, yeah, it looks like a whole new design. Again, which makes sense for the cartoon collection. But he's looking awesome. And now, here's a look at the art on the back of Hordak's packaging. So yeah, we have a Hordak laughing, holding the time stop device. So that's the accessory included, which was seen in Loki Lends a Hand episode in a sheer animation. I guess he's freezing a antenna or stopping time with it. I haven't seen that episode in years, but apparently that's what it did. And then you notice he has Imp on his shoulder. Now, this would have been a perfect opportunity to add an Imp with this cartoon Hordak, and I'm really surprised they didn't do that. I would much rather an Imp than a time stop device. I mean, that's a cool accessory, but I cannot believe they didn't include an Imp. And the Super 7 Classics Hordak has a really cool Imp, which I do have, and I'll bring in later, comparisons. And they could have just recasted that or reused that Imp for this Hordak, and they didn't. So that's a little bit disappointing. Then dropping down to the left-hand side, you can just see Hordak holding that time stop device accessory, and you can twist into powerful battle positions. And moving over to the right-hand side, we can see the Cartoon Collection logo. Here's Hordak now, which we're reviewing. We have Man-E-Faces and Triclops, which I have Triclops coming in a couple days, and I have Man-E-Faces now. All right, just a quick tease of him. Just came in, looks pretty cool. Okay, so before we take a look at Hordak and his accessories, he comes with a new comic called Slime Lord, Part 2 of the Horde Invasion. I love that cover. So yeah, we have Triclops there being slime, because obviously Triclops know the figure in its wave coming. Hordak, and look at that, Grizzlor. Can't wait to see him announced for this cartoon collection. So I didn't read this yet, like most new comics, but I'll breeze through it, try to bring it in closer. If you want to read and take a look at the images, we'll do that. Oh man, a lot of cool stuff going on. Look, we have Catra, She-Ra, Bo. Okay, Grizzlor, yeah, there's that Imp they're killing us with, teasing. Should have come with this Hordak. I'm going to bring it in like so, and try to hold if you want to pause and read it. Over this side, got Night Stalker, okay, Triclops, Teela, Sorceress, Man-E-Faces. Yeah, I love these newer comics for the cartoons, the cartoon line. Oh man, look at that scene. Look, we got the slime pit. How many more times is Mattel going to tease this thing for the Origins? I really thought with the Turtles of Grayskull line we'd see one, but maybe we'll get one with the cartoon collection. Now look, we have a cartoon Modulok. I just reviewed Modulok the other day, which is an awesome figure, and I did a comparison with the Super 7 one, and I was like, with the 3 legs, I go, I can see this, type of Modulok coming to the line. So there's a tease for that. We got Mosquitor, Hordak, Horde Troopers, Leech, which Leech is coming in the next wave, along with Catra, I believe. Triclops, Slime, Hordak. All right, I want to read everything. Go to the next page. Cool. Oh, look at that. You got the, what were they called? Horde Wraith figures. The classics had them. It'd be awesome to see them in the cartoon collection. Look to the next page. This. Try to bring it so you can read it if you want to. Everybody on top of Castle Grayskull firing a blaster. Cool. And this is the last page. Look at that. Hordak. Oh, man. Shadow Weaver. Yeah, I'm surprised she wasn't announced for the next wave. She's got to be coming soon. She's just too popular. Grizzlor again. Read the top. Man, that's an awesome comic. And here's a quick look around with Hordak and all his accessories, or that accessory out of package. So, taking a closer look at the new cartoon Hordak's head, sculpt, and hood. Man, that is one of the best looking head sculpts I've seen yet for a Hordak. I mean, I like them all. He'll do something different, whether it's the vintage one or the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak. And again, later on, we'll mix some heads and parts around. But look at that. Wow, I could not ask for a better cartoon head sculpt. Got the ears sticking out, sculpted out of the head. Just the overall white, so cool on this, the head itself. The red eyes, the black eyeliner around the red parts of the eyes. I love that open mouth and the extra, the red teeth showing painted. That's always been one of my favorite parts of a Hordak head. In the Masterverse Hordak, the Revolution one, they had a closed mouth. I didn't like that figure for that reason. But as far as the head inside this hood and the articulation, so you can look all the way to the left. Now the ear's going to hit this bone collar, but if you move it back a little bit, he can spin. Then he can look all the way to the left. And of course, same thing to the right. Again, you got to adjust the head. He has a blue fin up top. That's really cool. Now the jaw's not articulated. You almost think it would be. It's just a sculpted open mouth. You can go all the way down and go about that far back, and then the fins are the back of the skull. The head hits the hood. But that is such an incredible head sculpt. Wow. Now, as far as the hood, let me see something here. Wow, it's all part of the armor. Okay. It doesn't come off with the head like the vintage one does. So yeah, you have the gray bones painted around are they painted? Yeah, so everything is black is what I'm saying. And then the bones looks like they're painted over the black. And same thing with the bone pieces around the outer parts of the armor. I bring it up because I don't know if that's going to be a concern for chipping. The Super 7 one did a lot of chipping here, which I'll bring in later and show you little parts chipping. So I don't know how I feel about that. But it is what it is. It's still cool. So moving down to the main armor, yeah, it has the iconic Hordak, bat symbol sculpted outwards, not like just painted on. Painted red. Now mine's got a little bit of chipping there. Every figure is going to vary. It's not a big deal. Main armor's black, as I already mentioned. Then you have some extra straps going across here. So it's all one piece with the hood. That's pretty cool. All right, we'll remove it a little bit. Let's just finish up the articulation stuff. So going back, okay, so moving up to the right arm, he has the typical, cartoon muscle aesthetics or arm aesthetics. As far as the articulation with the armor on, that's what I'm getting at. You can go all the way up, down, right? Go about that, let's see, forward, back. Bend all the way up at the elbow, straighten the elbow out, spin at the elbow. Other arms are all the same. And yeah, that one popped right off. Wow, is that, let me see. All right, the one right in. That one's loose. This one's really tight. Yeah, all right, so the other arm's all the same. As far as the articulation, he has these upper bicep bracers, but it doesn't have the Horde bat on it like the Origins one would. And you can change them out if you wanted to. Now, these are separate pieces. See that? So if you want to pull them off, you can. It's going to leave them on. So at first I thought they were painted on, but nope, they're two separate pieces. Would have been cool if it had the Horde bat, but I guess in the animation didn't. And then moving down, right, the typical cartoon forearms. He has the black wrist bracers, all part of skull, painted on, both left and right side. And then comes with two semi-weapon gripping hands, semi-closed open hands, that can grip weapons. And they can spin, and the hinge joint go in and out. And again, the left sides are all the same. Okay, so moving back down to the waist to finish up the articulation. So like every Origins figure, he can spin at the waist, come apart at the waist, right? He has a simplified animation cartoon belt, painted gray. Typical Origin style loincloth, obviously black. The typical animation or cartoon aesthetic legs for these figures. And as far as the articulation with the legs, and go all the way out with a split. Kick forward. Go back about that far, can bend at the knee, spin at the knee. Other legs are all the same. And then he has some newer style boots. It looks like to me feet anyway. And then the bone collar here. So you can spin at the boot. The boots can come off, of course. And then as far as the foot articulation, go up, down, rock side to side. Now, see what I mean? So the boots have the bone collar around them, just like the armor and the neck piece. Well, look at this. See, the gray's already chipping. Or chipped on mine. That's exactly my concern with all these bone parts. Painted over to black. Yeah, that's not going to be a good thing with a lot of figures, but there's some proof right there with this particular figure and that paint. So once again, taking a look at this armor, I want to remove it off the body. It looks like we have to remove the head first. Let me pop the head off the ball peg. All right, so there's the typical ball peg and the head off that. And then we got to spin the figure around, and to remove the armor, you got 2 buckles on the left and right side, right? So I'm going to break one on the left side, and then break the other one on the right. And then the whole armor piece comes right off the body like so. Here is a closer look at that armor off the body. So it's, yeah, really rubbery and flexible, but again, you can see, yeah, the paint overlap, that gray paint over the black. You know, again, I'm just bringing this up because I already showed you proof of chipping, and if this is something you're going to, you know, mess around and take it off the body for customs, again, you got to be careful with this paint, or maybe pick up a gray paint and match this to touch it up. That's what I might do. Look at that inside mine. It's like I don't know what that is. It's part of the gray paint when they were painting this in the factory or something like that. And then I also took off those rubber bicep, well, not bracers, I guess they're bands. It should have the Horde logos in them, but that's what they look like, and they're pretty soft rubber. So once again, take a look at Hordak. Of course, to put the head back on the body, we removed the armor and those bands off the biceps. So there's a quick look at the overall body aesthetics and what Hordak would look like without the armor and those pieces on. Moving on to Hordak's accessories, or this time stop accessory that he comes with. There's a quick look at that. You can see the overall design and shape. Does have a, you know, handle that he can grip with his hand, which is pretty cool. Has the Horde bat symbol. It's also sculpted outward and painted. So taking a look at Hordak once again. Of course, I put the armor and the bands back on. I just put that time device and snapped in the right hand for now. So a quick look at that setup, how he holds it. So yeah, he holds it well, and he can balance well with it because it's really light. It's not a heavy piece. And now, moving on with some comparisons and mixing and matching the parts. So for the first comparison, I want to bring in that Super 7 Club Grayskull Classics Hordak against our new Origins cartoon Hordak. That's those two together. So just kind of give you a basic idea of, you know, the kind of job Mattel did as far as a cartoon Hordak and what the Origins is doing anyway, and what the Classics one did. Where this one was supposed to be like it jumped out of the cartoon in toy form. They did a pretty good job with it. Like all Super 7 figures, it has a lot of QC issues. Now again, I have chipping, going back to the gray hood thing. Chipping up here at the bone. It's hard to see, but I have some here. Yeah, there were some other areas too I thought was starting to peel off. Back here a little bit. That's not too bad. On the boot, it's like little areas. It's not, you know, it's not terrible because I don't mess around with this figure a lot, but, and this is really rubbery. Now, all right, so that's those two together. So they did a pretty good job with this side that, you know, it has its own aesthetics. Now, there's no parts we can really mix with these two, but that's just a comparison. Now, the most important part with the Super 7 one, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is there's the imp. I'm bringing him in for a closer look. Look at that imp. That's perfect. I mean, not only for the Classics, but that's all you had to reuse for this, you know, Origins one. Even the head spins, articulates. I don't even need it to articulate, just to make a solid imp piece. It's, you know, complicated enough for the Classics, but simple enough for an Origins figure. I mean, that's the imp we needed. Look at that. And I think, let me see, maybe you can hold a, all right, you kind of hold, it's not perfect, but yeah, you can hold on the shoulder like that. That's what we needed. But anyway, if you have a Classics one, or you can find one on eBay, or maybe Mattel will throw one out with another Hordak down the road. I don't know. I give up at that point, because they haven't put one out yet for any of the Origins Hordaks. That's the imp. Man, that looks perfect, too, with that Hordak. That's what we needed. Next up on the list is the Masterverse Princess of Power Hordak, and against our new Origins cartoon Hordak. Let's quick look at those two together. So, you know, this was the Masterverse's design for a cartoon Hordak, or Filmation style Hordak, obviously, because he's blue. He had a whole new head sculpt, which this is a really good head sculpt on this Hordak, and the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak, which I'll bring in soon. He had a very almost identical head sculpt, but they changed something with the mouth. You can see the armor, the styling armor is somewhat reminiscent of this, but different, of course, for the Masterverse. He come with a new crossbow, which is cool, a shield, and with this armor, they added a cape piece. Now, the hood, if you're not familiar with this figure, it comes off. It has to be part, in order to use this cape, you have to remove these, you know, the hood, and then the cape pops off the pegs, and you just have the armor piece. Right, so going back to this Hordak, there's nowhere to put a cape on if you were to use this one. Anyhow, okay, taking a look at the Masterverse Hordak first as far as part swapping goes. The only thing I thought was worthwhile is just to try the cartoon head from the Origins on the body. I mean, we could swap the armors out. I don't know if this one's going to fit. It looks a little small, but I don't think it's worth it. I like this armor on this figure, the overall setup with the cape, so I'm just going to leave it. But there's a quick look at the cartoon head, right, from the Origins one. It doesn't fit right. It does go on a ball peg, but it like, see if you can make it look up. It looks wacky. It looks like it stands out too far, and you can even see the gap underneath the neck. It's just like the ball peg does snap down. I think I have it all the way down. Let me see. Yeah, that's as far as it goes, and it sticks out too much. And once again, jumping back over to the Origins cartoon Hordak, I put the Masterverse head on that body. That's what it looks like. So it does go all the way down. Let me see. Yeah, but it's barely on the ball peg. It feels like it is a little bit. But the minute I like try to articulate the head up, it pops right off. So there's something, yeah, a little different with the design of his head or just the overall setup with the neck. I mean, it looks like a standard Origins type neck. But that's how the head fits on the body. And then, of course, you see I removed the right arm in this case. Now, going back to this blaster for the Masterverse Hordak. So, of course, the color is off. Blues. I mean, you can make it work if you wanted to, but it is off. But the answer to that question, no, it does not. The socket's way too small, so it does not fit standard Origin socket. I put the Masterverse armor, this helmet piece with the cape on. All right, so I can buckle it on one side, but this other side keeps popping. You can get it in there. It is soft enough, but it's just something with the overall aesthetics with this body and how this Masterverse armor was, designed as far as curves for this the Masterverse body. It's really slender, so it wants to keep popping. And this was never a good buckle system for this armor. Mine would constantly pop, and you got to be very careful trying to open this up and push it together because you will split it. I'm already chipping the paint. So it is possible if you work on it, but right now mine keeps popping. You notice I also put the Horde symbol armbands on the biceps. Just took the arms off, slid them up, or slid them from the wrists up to the arms, so they do work. They look a little better. And I just put the crossbow and the shield in hand, or somewhat. You can hold it from the Masterverse. And of course the cartoon head back on, because yeah, that's just perfect for this figure. And here's a quick look at that setup of what I could do with the Masterverse parts. Okay, so moving back on with some more Origins. Once again, we have our cartoon Origins Hordak against the PowerCon exclusive vintage-inspired Hordak painted blue. So this was sort of the Origins cartoon version of the vintage-inspired Hordak. Very similar to the gray Hordak. I think the face might have been a little different, or he came with two different heads, I think. It's just like a difference in the mouths. The collar was painted, the bone collar had silver in it. The face was, you had gray on top of this piece here. The hood, the fins, and obviously the head's more of a brighter white color. Changes like that. He did come with a blaster arm. And what's cool is, if you had this figure, the colors, they do look very close. They look almost identical under my lights. So that's pretty neat, because now we can use this blaster arm on this side. It's just meant to go on the right side. Aside from that, now going back to mixing parts, this Hordak, just going back to the vintage and what the original one did in the Origins, the gray one, the head and the hood is all one piece. So you just can't pop it on here because it ain't going to fit with this hood. So we're going to have to change the armors around, the heads. Oh, this one came with a cape, obviously, and things like that. He came with the minion. He does have the other arm, the Horde band with the painted bat symbol. I just put the regular ones back on this figure. Aside that, it's look at those two together, and all right, let's see what kind of parts we can mix. So the first thing I'm going to try with the cartoon Hordak is, put that blaster arm on and just leave everything else the same. All right, so look at that, and yeah, it works perfect. And again, the colors match really well. So that's a quick setup for blaster arm. Again, if you had that other Hordak and this one, you want to put an arm on. There you go. And then the other thing I did as far as parts mixing, and just to save a little time, is basically just switch most of the parts between the two different figures or bodies. So that's all you're really gaining, right? So this is the cartoon body with, the vintage-inspired, the armor on with the cape, that Hordak. Cartoon arms, legs. Of course, I put the head on with this hood because it's all part of that piece. I just left the boots on. I was going to pop the boots over too, and you would get that. It's just, again, you're not really gaining nothing aside two different bodies. A lot of people seem to like the vintage-inspired body. It's kind of why I did that over the cartoon body. I hear a lot of complaints with the aesthetics with this. Again, I don't mind. It's different. But if you're curious and you want to try this, for people who want to mix and match parts, it's kind of what you would get. And now here's a look at the regular vintage body with the blaster arm on. Okay, with the minion, the whole deal. a cartoon head on now. I have obviously the armor. Just left the boots on. Excuse me, that came with this figure. So it looks cool. So it's just an option to mix around parts with two different bodies. And then the last thing I want to do between these two is just I switch the heads back around, strip the armor pieces off, everything, so you can get a clear look at both bodies. For people who aren't familiar, just want a little better comparison between the two. So again, this is our vintage inspired, or the PowerCon version of Hordak. Painted blue, right? And this is our cartoon one. The head's on, so you can get a just better look at the overall design of the torso, the arm, side the blaster arm, the main arms. This thing out of the way. All right, the legs, what the legs look like, in the back muscles and stuff like that. So moving forward with the last comparison and mixing and matching the parts, and once again we have our new cartoon Hordak against the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak. This was another really awesome Hordak. Just the design. Now he also comes with a unique blaster arm that has plug-in blast effects. At least this one, and there's other ones with Masterverse and figures with similar pegs that work. I might have tried that in my review with him. But again, his skin tones, are totally different. We'll still try it in this figure. But what's cool with this one is the wings. So he has an armor that just drops over the shoulders. If you're not familiar with him, that's what plugs the wings in. So that'll be interesting to see what it looks like on this one. And we'll put the armor on that one. And then there's the head sculpt. Again, that head sculpt is very identical to the Masterverse Hordak, aside the differences and the growling teeth, the mouth to one side. I think the eyes and little things like that. Aside that, let's quick look at those two together, and let's finish the video up, mix some parts around. So the first thing I wanted to do is try the cartoon Hordak head on the Turtles Grayskull Hordak body, and that looks awesome. It fits perfect. All right, so I took this head off, which this was a cool head, going back to the Masterverse one, but that looks great. Wow, that's one of my favorite heads now with the Hordaks and the Origins line. Now it articulates well. This one. So you pop this off, and this one had a removable hood that just went over the neck, if you're not familiar, and just sits right over it like so, to where, this one was all part of the armor with this figure. But anyway, and once again, looking at the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak, I just put the cartoon Hordak armor with the headpiece, it's all one, on the body, and just put the regular Turtles of Grayskull Hordak Masterverse inspired head on. So again, it's just other options. You have that figure, you want to simplify them. Didn't like the wings, which most people do. Just a quick look at that, and, we already know what the cartoon Hordak head would look like on his body. And now, of course, jumping back over to the cartoon Hordak body, I put the Turtles of Grayskull parts on him, as you can see. That looks awesome. So we got the main wings with the armor, because it just drops over on top of the shoulders. The hood piece, as I already mentioned, drops over the head. So you put the wings, this on first. This piece goes over the neck, and I just put the cartoon head on. There's a quick look at that setup. Those wings are awesome. If you're not familiar with these, you have full articulation. They can bend all around, all the way up, all the way down, kind of thing. And as far as the articulation with these the shoulder armor pieces on, you can go all the way up, forward, back. It works, no problem. It's a little sloppy sometimes when you move it. You can see how it rocks off the shoulder, knocks the hood around. But for the most part, it looks pretty cool and works good on this cartoon body. So once again, with the same setup, and the last thing I wanted to try is that blaster arm, as I already mentioned I would. Yeah, it fits perfect, of course, and again, the paint's off, but with this armor on, you really don't notice it with the arm. It's not too bad, it's a little off. You can make it work, but that's a pretty cool setup. And with this, because you have the effects, the wings and all that, the heads already talked about. And see, this one has the type of peg in it, and you can take other pegs from other figures. I think this might have come off Mauser Jaw, or, no, I'm sorry, this came off the Hordak, the Masterverse one. I don't know if this will fit, will it? No, well, I'm sorry. All right, so certain ones will fit, certain ones won't. This one won't. I thought it did. I think there's an orange one from I think the Mouse Jaw might fit this. Side that, yeah, it's a cool setup, and you can make it work with this figure. Blast the arm, the head, wings, everything I tried. All right, so that's my overall review on the new Master Universe Origins Cartoon Collection Hordak figure. Yeah, it came out really good, for what the cartoon collection is doing. If you like the aesthetics and the overall series. The head sculpt is just over the top. I love it. You did a good job with the armor, but you do have to watch this, chipping gray paint. And again, it's the same things happen on the Masterverse Hordak and the classics as well. There's something with gray paint over this black. It chips in certain areas, so you gotta be careful of that. This time stop device is pretty neat, but honestly, I didn't need it. I would rather have an imp, just like I showed they had with the classics. They could have reused this or told something very similar to it. It's perfect aesthetically and design for this Hordak. He should have came with an imp before this. And they could have also added a blaster arm as well. They could just reuse this one from this Origins. It's not Filmation accurate, but it does a job. I mean, if you have this one, yeah, even the skin colors match really well. But should have added that in Imp, I think, before this device. I don't know. Beside that, you know, it is cool to have Hordak added to the line, and I guess it is what it is. So as always, I appreciate everybody watching. And until next time, take care.